Mr. Angel, do you want to talk about the bar bench? Are you going to deny that you went? Are you really going to gaslight me and say that I'm making up the bar bench? I have the records of you speaking at that. I have Jeff Rosen literally doing political forums in secret. Mr. Angel, you cannot deny that. You tried to gaslight me in the middle of a public tax-funded meeting. Why don't you want to talk about your views, opinions, and ideas in public, Mr. Angel? You literally tried to gaslight me. Want to go through the public records? I'll send you an email. And then there's all the non-compliance with Business and Professions Code 6101. Remember that, Mr. Angel? How about a little prosecutorial misconduct?
This is Susan Bassey, and the man not answering my questions is David Angel. He's a prosecutor working in the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office. He works directly under the elected District Attorney, Jeff Rosen. And for his work, David Angel is paid over $400,000 a year in salary and benefits and overtime. And this evening, he was speaking to a group of voters and potential jurors about the wrongful conviction of Rick Walker. Rick Walker was convicted back in 2010 when Jeff Rosen first came into office, and Rick Walker spent nearly 12 years in jail. And when a few people figured out that he was innocent, then Karen Sununu Towery, who was married to a judge and who had helped get Jeff Rosen in office, helped get Rick Walker out. Ricky Walker was eventually paid $3.171 million for 12 years of being wrongfully convicted and incarcerated. He'd probably rather have his 12 years of his life back because he passed away in 2020. But before he did, this film was made. In fact, it was made 20 years ago. And this evening, all the politicians who are trying to convince the public that they are being compassionate and working to get innocent people they put into prison out were attending this meeting and talking to voters and potential jurors.
People who are either vested in not wanting to see change, right? Or people who have a certain either emotional investment in being able to produce.
Rick Walker passed away in 2020. He was a victim of the government putting him in prison falsely because every individual that touched his case, from the cops to the prosecutors, nobody did their job, and the safeguards were left out. We talk a lot about this being our system, but when it comes down to it, it's the individuals in the system. And that matters to people who are victims of crimes, as well as the people who deserve a fair hearing after they are arrested and charged with a crime.
For him, and we're going to convict you. You're going to get 25 years to life for this. And sure enough, when Mr. Bowers took the stand, he started crying. One of the jurors asked for tissue.
Anyone who's ever been arrested, charged with a crime, or faced the criminal justice system as a victim knows that the system is incredibly broken. It's all about who tells the better story, and everybody not doing their job and not worrying about anybody's civil rights. This film was produced and promoted with taxpayer money. It was largely the individuals who were in the film that are still alive today working as private attorneys, government attorneys, and politicians. And after the film had finished, and we all understood what Rick Walker had been through, to a large part, there was an opportunity to ask questions, which I did.
Last year, I discovered I'm a public records expert, and I obtained records from the court of Santa Clara County. And those records showed that starting in 1988, that there was a secret meeting where the very judges that were falling asleep in that trial that we just heard about, the very prosecutors, including Dennis Kennedy, who started this committee, they were meeting in secret with taxpayer dollars out of the grand jury and the jury services budget. I've been writing, we have about 6 series done. We expect this will be a 125-part series. David Angel was attending those meetings. Those meetings were not open to the public. They held public forums there, and they eventually only invited the San Jose Mercury and the NBC News reporters. The rest of us were not invited. We did not know these meetings were taking place. For 30 years, they had secret meetings. They spoke off record about their views, their opinions, and their ideas. They discussed what they would put in headlines. They discussed what jurors would hear. And that had a large role in who was convicted. And David Angel, you attended those meetings. The public was not invited to hear what you've been talking about tonight. And prosecutors spoke with judges who were hearing these cases. The Santa Clara County Sheriff's deputies were also there, selectively, some of them, not all of them.
So, do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, David Angel, how can you continue to be silent on the role that the Bar Bench Media Police Committee played in convicting people in this county and depriving victims of due process and defendants? You attended those meetings, and no one has answered to it, and no one has admitted responsibility, and Joe Simidian knows about it as well.
Well, Ms. Bass, you believe a lot of things that no one else sees evidence
I have
of.
public records, David Angel. Don't try to spin that.
So I have no idea really what you're talking about, but I know that.
I'll send you an email with the records of your name in it. You went to those meetings. Are you going to deny that you went to those meetings?
Let's focus on the panel tonight.
From the time Rick Walker was convicted and everybody else during this time, David Angel was attending the secret Bar Bench Media Police Committee. He was not only a speaker, but he was a member of the committee, which means that he was able to invite which reporters would attend. And he invited reporters from the San Jose Mercury that actually reported on Rick Walker's Innocence Project, an innocence project that was done at the direction of Karen Sununu Towery, whose husband was overseeing that Bar Bench Media Police Committee.
Mr. Angel, do you want to talk about the Bar Bench? Are you going to deny that you went?
Thanks so much.
Are you really going to gaslight me and say that I'm making up the Bar Bench? I have the records of you speaking at that. I have Jeff Rosen literally doing political forums in secret. Mr. Angel, you cannot deny that. You tried to gaslight me in the middle of a public tax-funded meeting.
Lawyers, as a matter of law, are supposed to tell the truth to the public under Rule .41 of the Rules of Professional Conduct. They're also supposed to report each other or snitch on each other when there's an issue going on in their office. David Angel attended this Bar Bench Media Police Committee at least from 2010 when Rick Walker was convicted and Jeff Rosen was elected as the district attorney. And David Angel has stood by Jeff Rosen politically, and he is engaged in misconduct by not producing evidence in criminal cases as his subordinates do. He also has been dishonest and deceitful with the public by attending these secret judge meetings with judges, other prosecutors, and police officers, and never assuring that that was disclosed. And that denies due process to all the criminal defendants being prosecuted by the Santa Clara County District Attorney and attorneys like David Angel. But it also denies crime victims due process because they never know who's the right person who should be spending time in prison and who shouldn't be.
We're going to report on you going to the Bar Bench Media Police Committee and supporting your boss while you're making almost $500,000 a year and talking about how sad it is that Rick Walker only got $100 a day for a wrongful conviction. That's shameful.
And then along came Joe Simidian, the Santa Clara County elected supervisor, who you may recall from some of my previous videos. Joe Simidian had a role in the film, which was produced 20 years ago, and he was patting himself on the back this evening when he was moderating the event and taking credit with the local voters and jurors. But this is Joe Simidian talking to some of the women, to the charity known as Women SV. These women went to Women SV for help related to their family law cases, and instead they got attorneys that were willing to throw them under the bus. And Joe Simidian gave that charity $250,000, and now the women want to know what he's going to do about the charity that cheated them. And Joe Simidian doesn't want to answer those questions when I'm around with my camera, so he gave them their business card and went on his way. But we were able to catch up with him.
Seen any progress on shutting down Women SV. They're still continuing to do running and capping for divorce attorneys. You still have Nicole Ford sitting on the Domestic Violence Council where all these women are getting restraining orders against them and their husbands who are actual abusers and violent are getting away scot-free. And you're funding the DA with no questions.
Thanks.